Should discovering a duplicate invoice after it's already been paid for. Or realizing an urgent maintenance ticket sat untouched for days because someone forgot to follow. That's exactly the kind of operational risk I set out to solve with this particular automation project. Or imagine having 30 properties scattered across multiple cities and still having to track invoices, vendor approvals, and maintenance requests in spreadsheets. Any missed updates could be a delayed payment or even a payment made twice, and nobody likes that. I'll show you how I automated this process for a client using Zapier and Airtable. So good afternoon everyone, my name is Stephanie, I'm an AI automation specialist, and today I'll be walking you through a property management automation project I recently built using Zapier and Airtable. So what was the goal of this project? The goal of this project was to help a property management company who oversees 13 properties across multiple locations manage their manual workload required, including invoices, maintenance requests, vendor communications, and operational tracking. One challenge this company had was they had multiple information scattered across spreadsheets, emails, and chats. This made it sometimes difficult for team members to follow up or even having to make duplicate follow-ups. To address this, I made this operational system in Airtable across 7 systems, which you can clearly see on my screen, and I'll explain them one after the other. So the first table we have here is the property management table. So this just shows an overview of all the properties this particular client has across their different locations. Up next is the vendor table. This shows us all the vendors that they are contracted with, including those that have been approved and those that are yet to be approved. Now the invoice row table. So this is the main table that is linked to our first automation. So simply when someone fills a form or an invoice, the information comes here. I will go on to explain the status and everything required for this. So up next is the invoice match table. So as you saw here, there are some invoices that their status had matched. So if any invoice is matched, a record is placed here, a record is created here, showing us, okay, who is the vendor related, what property is related, what kind of is required, is there an electrical, is there any landscaping, etc., what's the confidence level, and more of that information. The exception queue table. So this table handles invoices that were filled, but they were quote-unquote comma attached to that invoice. This could be, okay, the invoice was a duplicate, the vendor that was attached to the invoice was not approved, or the property wasn't found. This usually occurs because of mistakes. Okay, somebody filled the same invoice number twice, they filled in a vendor that was not approved, or they made a mistake, it was a typo, and then the vendor would not be found. Correct. And then finally, or second to last, is the ticket table. So when somebody fills a form, they have a problem, they fill a form, and it comes here to update itself as a ticket. So operational team members can come here and manage any ticket that is currently ongoing, pending, open, etc. And then finally, we have an audit log table. So this just shows us an overview of the different automation steps that were done, and helps team members just to track, okay, this automation did this was what happened as at the time that the automation ran. Alright, so we can go into the automations and walk ourselves through what exactly we did for this client. So first things first, somebody fills a form. Alright, there's an invoice to be done, a particular property has an issue, they want to do this, they want to do that, and they fill a form. So when they fill a form, right, it comes to create a new record in the invoice row table. Right, so when you create the record in the invoice row table, the automation comes now to check, okay, does that invoice even exist already? If it doesn't exist, or if it does exist rather, it comes to create an update in the exception queue table to say, okay, what you filled just now, the invoice number already exists. You cannot go further with whatever process that you want to do. Right? The invoice number hasn't been found before. It's not a duplicate. It comes ahead to make other things. So it comes here to check for vendors. Okay, the vendor you attached to this invoice, was it found but not approved? So each of these steps have different conditions attached to them. You can see here it pays engine the exception queue table because obviously the vendor was not found, we cannot proceed. If it was found but not approved, same thing, we need to create record in the exception queue table, and also goes to create a ticket because vendors found but not approved, we need the ticket attached to it. And finally, okay, the vendor was found and approved. So now it goes ahead to check, okay, that form that you filled as well, was the property ID found, was the property ID what found? If it wasn't found, go ahead to also create a record in the exception queue table because there's a comma, like I mentioned, attached to that form. And finally, if the property ID is found, it goes ahead to create a new match record, right? So that is where information gets populated in this table. And then it goes to update the record in the invoice raw table. So that's where we see in the invoice raw, you can now see, okay, it was updated to matched. So it was updated to exception if that ticket was an exception. Finally creates a successful audit log. Now, so for every ticket that is an exception, so any ticket that was populated in the exception key table, right? So they come here and follow this different sequence of automations based on what we want to do for a client. Okay, we want to update the record in the invoice raw table and say, okay, this was an exception. And then most of these informations have a Slack alert set. So for invoice exception, so any ticket that had an exception, you can see here what was the reason the vendor wasn't found. You can see here it was a typical invoice number and things like that. And for match record as well, we also come to update it. Okay, this invoice was moved successfully, and gives us a link to that Airtable record as well, just to help team members able to follow up on what things they need to do. I think that's most of for system 1. We can go ahead to system 2. System 2 is majorly an automation for ticket management. So say a team member fills a ticket, or somebody in one of the location fills a ticket, they want to make a complaint, right? They fill the form comes here to create an entry in the ticket table so that the team members can quickly manage that ticket. It also comes to create a successful audit log in the audit log table to show that a successful log was created because the record was successfully entered. So we can see the ticket created. Alright, so we can move up to Airtable. So most of the automations for system 2 are mostly done by Airtable. So what does Airtable help us to check? So there are different categories of tickets. So a ticket could be urgent, it could be high, it could be low, it could be medium, right? And based on these conditions, you can check, okay, this particular ticket hasn't been closed, this particular ticket hasn't been resolved, and the escalation, nothing has been done for it. And based on those conditions, it comes to update team members in the Slack channel so that they can be constantly aware that, okay, tickets are still coming in. This automation runs on an hourly basis, so we can always see by the hour, okay, this happened by 4 p.m. or this happened by 10 a.m. You can see automations that get escalated based on those conditions. We also have one for level 2 escalations. The same criteria folds as well, but this only happens for tickets that match those conditions. So this comes to update information in the ticket table and update the escalation level. So where an escalation hasn't been done, it's still none. Okay, you can update this to level 1, update this to level 2 as the automation required. And then we also have the vendor follow-up reminder, right? So when a ticket matches certain conditions, it has to send a message to the vendor in the Slack channel to tell them, okay, this particular ticket, these conditions haven't been met, but these conditions have been met. Please kindly remember to do the needful. So all those get tracked to the vendor confirmation in the table. And finally, creates a successful audit log. So that is basically the summary of what this automation helps this client to do. So all the client needs to do is fill the form, or rather anyone has filled the form and the automation will run for itself. Same thing applies for tickets. If a ticket needs to be filled, all they need to do is fill in the ticket and reminders can be sent so that team members can be constantly abreast of what they need to do. So this particular project demonstrated how operational processes can be structured into systems, so it's easier for both team members and the owner alike to manage, monitor, and scale. So thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in automation, Airtable or Zapier, and operational workflow design, feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to discuss and answer any questions. Thank you so much for sticking around. Have a nice day.